there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Fantasy for the Ages, the show where a father and son sit down and talk about Wheel of Time, fantasy fiction, sci-fi, anything like that that we happen to be interested in and want to talk about. Today, we've got an episode where it's one of those times Zach is not around because we're going to be talking about The Expanse. And he hasn't read them. He hasn't watched it. I don't know what his problem is. No, I do know what his problem is. There's too much good stuff out there to enjoy, and he just hasn't got to these yet. So he can't watch this. He can't listen. He'll get around to it eventually. But I do have some people I've brought in with me for this episode. Some guests, friends that have watched, have read, love The Expanse. And I'm going to bring them in one at a time, introduce them. They're going to talk with me about this, and I think you'll enjoy this episode then. So first off, I'm going to bring in Jake. Welcome, Jake.
Hey, Jim. Thank you for having me, man.
Oh, absolutely. Honestly, there was no way I could do this show, this episode, without you in some way, because I never heard of The Expanse until you started pumping it on our Discord channel and saying, what? The Expanse? And it was like weeks, maybe months that you kept dropping until I finally went, I think I'll try this now.
And then it was a few months while it was on your TBR while you're finishing up some other stuff too. So
exactly. So I'm like, okay, I'll get to it eventually. And then thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Wow.
It's nice to have, because there's only, a lot of people have seen the show. A bare handful of our friends that I'm aware of, at least, have read the books. So it's been nice to be able to talk about some stuff about the books with you. So
totally. And definitely part of what we'll talk about here today is kind of the comparison between those two.
Yeah,
for sure. Well, once we were going to be doing something like this, I knew, back in my head, we're going to get to this episode eventually. But I'm talking to all sorts of people then about, hey, The Expanse. I love The Expanse now. It's great. And another of our friends who I'm going to bring in now, Leigh-a. Hello.
Hi.
She heard about, hey, you like The Expanse now too. And apparently she likes The Expanse. So she just kind of mentioned at one point, one conversation, we were doing something together. You're like, hey, if you're ever going to do an episode about this, I'd love to come talk about that.
Yeah, I think what I actually did was like, oh my God, dips.
That sounds exactly what I remember. Yes.
You made me sound so much more professional than I was when I knew that you were going to be doing this episode.
Totally.
I got very excited.
And so then here we are, and it's time. Now, I got through the books pretty fast because they're so good. I just kept reading and reading and reading. And for me, not just the books, but also the short stories, because they were all published when I started. So I found one of those reading lists online and, okay, where should you fit the short stories in? And that's how I did it. Now, Jake, you've read the short stories, but your experience was different. When
Correct.
Did you read them?
I read the short stories after I finished the series. So I kind of read all the short stories all together. In order of like time frame, but
right.
Pretty much all at once.
See, that's a very different experience than what I had.
Earlier this year, I want to say March, April, maybe, they released a full collection of short stories. So I was able to get that on audio and hardcover, so I can kind of...
Yeah, and I didn't realize that they had released everything, all the short stories in one Audible. So I've been a cheap ass and just like, I don't want to pay a credit for...
Which is fair, because they're only about 2-3 hours each.
Yeah, some of them are really short.
So whereas I can pay a credit for something like Brandon Sanderson's Rhythm of War, which is 50 hours.
Yeah.
So just like looking for those longer books to make it more of a cost value. But now that again, I didn't realize, Jake, like you said, that that's all been released as one package. So now, like, as soon as we get off this, you know what I will be doing.
There you go.
Yes, I do.
Because you're really missing some key pieces. There are stories, there are series of books out there that, short stories are like the author wanted to throw a little something in for the fans or something.
Yeah.
These short stories add some critical little nuggets that when you don't have them, you figure it out, but the story's not as rich as it could be.
Yeah, not necessarily necessary, but they are fun to be able to listen to or read in between the books.
Well, and just honestly, anything extra that I can get with the Expanse, I will take.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
because
You know, and a few of them, I mean, I'd throw in, Jake, just the tale Strange Dogs.
Yeah.
If you didn't have a chance to read that one, you're left going, what's going on for a while in the main stories.
That's
that
fair.
would have made more sense if you'd had that short story first.
Yeah.
But we'll get more into the details here in a little bit, though. I'm jumping out of order. So let me come back to that.
It is kind of fun to go, or it was fun to go back and read them after completing the main story, and then kind of filling in the gaps that way. It's like,
sure, that makes sense now. Yeah.
I feel like want to hang up on you guys and go listen to these now.
And again, I don't want to spoil those for you at all, but another one I'll just say though is Amos makes a lot more sense with one of the short stories that you'll get. You go,
yeah, very much so.
Wow, yeah.
And then you have some that are fun with Eric later on in life. From season 5, I think it was Amos's buddy from Baltimore.
Yeah,
they did a nice job of weaving the short stories into the TV series. They really did. Yeah. All right. Well, this is just the problem of how excited I am about the Expanse, and I'm just plowing into conversations already. But there are a few other things on the show we like to do before we get into our regular content. So let me take a moment to talk about that. One is just to literally say, how you guys doing? Having a good week? Having a good day?
It's been a good week, good day.
It has not been a good day for me. Work just kind of sucked, but I think I messaged you guys before. It's like, I am so much looking forward to tonight. Like, this is the only reason I haven't just gone and slept the day off, because like, I am excited for this show.
Well, there you go. Some days are like that, and that's part of why we have fantasy and sci-fi fiction. We escape from things for a while.
Yeah.
Totally.
It makes life tolerable, because, days, you have good days, you have bad days, and you've got to figure out how to make the bad days good.
Yep.
Absolutely. I'm in a different time zone, so I'm over on the Pacific, the West Coast, and so basically I worked, and then, and I was working from home today. So it's like, gotta stop and make a drink now. It's time. Well, I've literally just got done with work, and here we are.
5 o'clock somewhere, right?
There's no nap. There's no gap time. It's just jumping in. Yeah. And that's fun too. Yeah. But dinner is cooking in a crock pot in the background somewhere. So I've got a smell in the house. It's very pleasant. My wife gets home from work later, and we'll have food. Yeah. But later, we've got stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
One other thing I always like to do with some for our fans is, what else are people reading? Because so much of what I read is things like Jake told me about the Expanse. You learn about things from other people. So what are you reading right now? It can be something you're rereading or something new that you're excited about. Tell us what you're reading. I want to know.
I'm honestly finishing a reread of The Expanse. So I just finished Tiamat's Wrath, which is the second to last book. Mm-hmm. Also, I think in the series, it's my favorite book. This will be it's the third time I've listened to this one. And I'm just about to pick up Leviathan Falls. And then after that, my plan is I've been in this reread cycle of so many series. I've done Wheel of Time. I've listened to so much of the Cosmere stuff. And I'm just like, okay, I need to start listening to new things. I need to branch out. And so I'm soliciting from friends. I think I'm going to do The Getting in the Ninth. Yeah, whatever that book series is. So Lesbian Space Pirates sounds wonderful to me. So and it's literally on the cover like Lesbian Space Pirates. I was like, you know what? You had me at lesbian, but then you had Space Pirates. Cool.
Awesome.
Jake, how about you then?
This week, I've tried to do a little bit of research, get prepared for this. So I listened to the first and the last of the Expanse books. and I finally wrapped up the final short story, which I've been putting off the final short story for a few months because that means I'm done with this series. And so I took the time this afternoon to listen to it while I was finishing up at work and kind of finishing up the last hour before jumping on to here, which it was fantastic. But last week I started a Mistborn reread. Got through the first 2 books of Mistborn, and I'm just going to continue on that next week.
Era 1 or Era 2?
You're prepping for the Lost Metal.
I am,
right?
Yeah.
I've got that on my docket because that comes out in November, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
I plowed through the Cosmere last year, and I went through it really fast. I know I didn't get as much out of it as I should have, so that's kind of my plan for this year is to really take my time with the Cosmere, and I'm thoroughly enjoying the reread of Mistborn.
It rereads really well.
Yes,
it does.
Mistborn was my first foray into the Cosmere, so it kind of has that little special place in my heart. And it's so much fun.
Yeah.
I think I can say, though, that as great as Era 1 is, Era 2 is more fun.
Oh, totally. Absolutely.
So I'm excited.
I know some people aren't a fan of Era 2. Like, they're not as in love with the characters as they are with the first one. But, I mean, same thing with lesbian space pirates, like cowboys doing magic. Please.
Yes.
Yeah, Era 2
hit them up and do some magic. I love it.
Does the reread even better than Era 1, honestly.
Awesome.
Yeah, because you get the humor more, you appreciate the characters more. When I first started Era 2, I remember reading that first book going, what's going on? This isn't Mistborn anymore. What happened? It was such a shocking change.
Yeah.
But you grow to appreciate it.
Well, and especially with knowing that there's elements from Rhythm of War that you can pull in.
You pull
which is
this
one of
big
the
Cosmere thing.
Yeah, so one of the Stormlight, the latest Stormlight Archives book, the fact that there are characters. It won't do too spoiler on that one, but there are things that get pulled in somehow. Like knowing those details, I can't wait to go back and see if there's little Easter eggs.
Not to derail too much, but reading Final Empire, I screenshot where I was on the Audible listening, and it's not really a spoiler. It was like first Hoyd sighting. Oh shit!
Ooh,
yeah.
You don't realize it the first time through, and then you read the rest of the Cosmere, and you're like, oh shit!
Yeah,
he's somebody.
Well, and then people, Elantris, Sanderson's
so
first
good.
story, he republished as a 10th anniversary with Hoyd. Wasn't there the first time. Now, oh, look who I have now.
I've tried a couple times.
It's a Cosmere podcast all of a sudden.
I've tried a couple times to get into Elantris, and I just can't get into it right now. I'll try it again next year, but
it's early Sanderson, so there's a difference.
Yeah, and it's a nice. Yeah, you definitely have to consider it, like where it falls in the scheme.
Yeah,
like it was probably one of the first books that he published. But it still goes to how brilliant he is. Like he had this vision even then. Yeah. So even though he was like, baby new author, he had this big world, like not even a world, like a universe that he wanted to make. And you get those little tiny Easter eggs that are in that, especially if you've read other Cosmere books. So
awesome. Well, I'm excited to get into it.
Yet, writing is a creative process. So don't believe Brandon Sanderson if he tells you he had everything figured out already before he wrote, because it's growing with him as he develops it. Yeah.
Yes.
But he still had the basic bones. You can tell there's too much laid into stuff for him to have just figured this out later. No, he's got an idea.
He's like, I need this little part to exist eventually. So I'm gonna write it now.
Now, Jake, I need to jump back. You said you read the final short story in The Expanse. Which one was that? Because you're reading in that Memories Legion thing.
Yeah, Memories Legion. I have it right here. It is called The Sins of Our Fathers. It was released with this earlier this year.
I haven't read that yet. Wait a second. I thought I'd read all of those. There's
Yikes.
another short story now.
There's one final short story for you, Jim.
Okay, no spoilers.
I'll try
Don't
really
ruin
hard.
it for us.
Jim, I know what both you and I are going to be doing after this podcast.
Yep. And I will buy it, whatever it takes. I know. I'm a completionist, so now that I know there's a piece out there I didn't finish, I got to go do that.
Right?
Yeah. I won't give details away about what happens. It does answer one of your questions you kind of had prepared for us to ask us, and it does talk about Philip and Aros, Marco and Naomi.
Oh. Okay, good to know there's more to be learned, because I was just left dangling.
Yeah.
Both in the TV and the books, just dangling. So
I will say, the name he gives is the name that he's stuck with.
Wow. Okay.
Philip Nagata.
Oh, yeah. Okay, got it.
So,
well, West Coast time. I've got enough hours. I'll get that one done today.
yeah, it's like two and a half on audio if you listen to it at one time speed. So,
all right. What I'm reading, I haven't talked about yet. I'm reading 3 different things right now besides Wheel of Time, because I'm always rereading that.
Correct.
Because
Yeah.
Zach and I are working through it for the podcast, anyways. But I'm reading The Way of Shadows, book 1 of the Night Angel trilogy by Brent Weeks.
Ooh.
It's been amazing. Loving it. I'm almost done with the first book. So that's been great. I'm also on the final book of something old sci-fi kind of fantasy-ish from the Book of the New Sun by Gene Wolfe.
Ooh,
Reading the 5th book. This is a series a lot of people never finish. It's dense and uses his vocabulary is ridiculous. He uses so many words, and half of them he made up. It's
I respect
but
it.
again,
Very
I will
Shakespearean.
finish.
Very
So
fantasy.
I'm almost like the last third of the last book. I'm almost there, but
Awesome.
That's quite an accomplishment.
Push it through.
You got it. We have faith in you.
I will get there. I will make it. So that's just been there, and I continue to pile through. And the last book that I've been working on is on our Discord channel. We started a book club for the Dragon Riders of Pern. So I'm on the 2nd book of that now, Dragon Quest. I've read like the first 16, but there's 26 books in that series. So we're going to read them all now. It's going to take us like a year and a half to get through all of this.
That's like Wheel of Time level commitment. You got it.
I can do this.
I was talking to one of the Discord fellows, Amos Farstrider, the other evening, and because she's doing the book club with you,
right?
That's one of the series that I haven't delved into, and she was telling me, check it out. I'm more of an audio person myself. I can't reconcile spending a credit on a 2.5 hour book. So I'm really trying to find a collection, or I'm going to start looking at some used bookstores and try to find the collection. Then I'll jump in.
Yeah, you should be able to. I mean, like I've got the first 3 books as an omnibus. They're all together, and I'm sure you can find audio versions that too. Yeah.
My cat just bit my stomach.
Oh.
I think I've never done that before. That was weird.
Oh no. Because we're on camera. That's how it works. Yeah.
Live show, people. I've actually been looking at going to my library, especially because I have been wanting to do these short stories. So Jake, thank you for telling me that they were all together, because I'm the same way. I can't justify a credit for 3 hours, and unfortunately, because life, I only listen to audio now. Like, unfortunately, like even though I have physically bought the Expanse books, I literally have never even opened it.
Yeah,
because
brand new.
Yeah,
I have it for reference just because.
Yeah, and just like I walk everywhere. I live in Washington D.C. I don't have a car. I literally walk everywhere. So my books are my audio books are my best friends. So Kate Redding and Michael Kramer are frequently in my head, literally.
Totally.
And that's also another thing that I love. The gentleman who reads the Expanse books does
really good,
such an amazing job. And when he switches characters, because it's a POV book, you can't. He has a different tonality for each character. You know who he's talking to.
Nice.
I can just like, if I just picked up the audiobook, like clicked something randomly, I would automatically know who it is by his tonality. He does such a great job. So
he does a great job for the Belter Creole too.
Oh, like, really?
That had to take some practice to get into the swing of it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, seriously.
Your cat again?
This is my life.
I could hear the cat that time.
Yeah, the
Which one is that?
Paka does not want it. This one's Paka, and then Wilder is trying to play, and Paka's not having it.
Oh, funny. Okay. One more thing before we talk more Expanse. In this podcast, we usually are drinking something. That's just kind of how it works. For our Wheel of Time ones, I usually make a fresh creation. Jake suggested I do that this time too, so I made an Expanse tale. So this is my freshly made one called Avasarala's Revenge.
Nice. I didn't have grenadine for mine. I just had some cherries and some juice. So I used some stuff. So mine's not quite as pink as yours.
But you got the wedge of lime. So you have that next level quality on yours. So this drink recipe will be on our Discord. We'll also drop it in our Instagram. It's got tequila, triple sec whiskey, lemon juice, lime juice, and something for color. You just heard Jake had one option. I had something else. And Jake just disappeared for a moment. We'll watch for him to come back. It wasn't his cat. Can't blame the cat. But Leigh-a, tell us what you're drinking, because you got something different.
Yes, I do. I'm not much of a tequila person. It does make me, like, I'm one of those people that tequila does not make me happy. So, but what I do love is grapefruit juice. And in the books, Naomi, who's one of my favorite characters, loves this grapefruit martini, and it's always from Holden's POV, and he's always grossed out, but since he loves her so much and he's such a good partner, he's always getting her this really gross grapefruit martini. And every time that comes up in the books, I'm like, I want that so badly. So I looked up a grapefruit martini recipe. It's very easy. It's grapefruit juice, vodka, and Knoche. I think I said that right.
I don't know what that is. Knoche?
It's a orange liqueur.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just like just a little bit of that, and and it's delicious. If you love grapefruit juice, if you are able to drink grapefruit juice, I could not recommend this more. And I did send them the recipe that I was using. So
perfect. We'll get it up there. Send us a picture even. Jake, welcome back.
Sorry, my internet at home kind of crashed. So I grabbed my phone real quick, and my earbuds are not connecting, so I don't know what is going on. Yay, technology. No. It's awesome when it's awesome, and it sucks when it's not.
That's how it is. I was just hoping you didn't just lose power. That happened to me recently. We were doing our book club, get together at the end of a book, and like we're almost done, and suddenly, poof, I'm gone. I'm running the book club, but I'm gone. Zach was with us. He took him home then, but it was a blackout. I lost power for half an hour.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Can't do anything.
Life happens.
That's
Adapt and overcome.
All right. Well, Jake, you missed us talking just more about booze, so we're okay. Okay.
Now no worries. I'm gonna try to get back on my computer. It seems like it's working again, so I'm gonna drop from this one. If you'll add me back to the other one.
I will do that. In fact,
sorry,
him gone now.
Sorry.
Oh, that's funny. So we'll just move him there and let him figure that out. Okay. Well, while he's working that and I'm watching for him to come back. Oh, maybe he's back now. Are you back now? He thinks he's back now. All right.
I think so. We'll try.
You sound like you're back. It all looks good now. All right.
Sorry
Let me
about
just
that.
cover some of the basic facts of The Expanse. What do we know about it? What can we find about it? It's a science fiction series written by James S.A. Corey, who's really two different people. I don't know how that came about, but Daniel Abraham, Ty Frank collaborated, wrote the story. Began with a bang in 2011 with Leviathan Wakes, which won the 2012 Hugo Award for Best Novel that year. There it is. Thank you. And then let's see, it also, so it won that one Hugo, but then the series as a whole won a Hugo again in 2020 for being the best series around at that time. And it wasn't even done yet. Wow. So that was when it was almost done. Yeah. There are 9 books in the series. Leviathan Falls is the last one, which came out in 2021. And then numerous novellas and short stories. All essential, my opinion, essential. And Leigh-a's gonna agree after she goes and reads the rest of them. Then
I've been wanting to read, like, again, I'm just a cheap ass and refuse to pay a credit. And I've checked my local bookstores and they just don't have the small ones. I just didn't do the research to realize that there was. So I'm a bad fan.
Well, and apparently I haven't even read all the short stories either. Jake didn't tell us till today.
I'm very excited for my weekend homework. I'm not gonna lie.
Thought you knew. Sorry.
I skipped the Jimmy Buffett concert to listen to these books.
Wait, hold on a second.
Jimmy Buffett.
Did you say skip the Jimmy Buffett concert?
I might listen to the books while I'm at the Jimmy Buffett concert.
Well, so I saw Jimmy Buffett where I live a few weeks, or I guess it's about a month and a half or so ago. Don't skip it. It was a great show.
Oh, I've been doing Jimmy Buffett since I was like, my parents brought us to Jimmy Buffett concerts as children.
Oh, you had good parents.
I've loved Jimmy Buffett for years, and finally
Jimmy Buffett is like life. So
there you go.
Yeah. So
That's
when I say it's 5 o'clock somewhere, I'm not ironically saying that. I'm saying it because I love the song and I drink all the time saying it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
So sorry to derail.
This is what we do on this show. Come on. And every content creator I know does the same thing. Tangents are life.
I can't remember. No, okay, so I've heard this. I forget who said it. The fans come for the content, they stay for the tangents.
It's true. It's
so
accurate. Absolutely.
When I saw Buffett earlier this year, a few weeks ago, I forget what song he opened with, but his second song was Fins. And there are
to the left.
Yes.
To the right.
Apparently, there are multiple different chapters of Fin heads that go to concerts around, and they wear these huge foam fins on their heads, and then they go down the aisles of the concerts while he's playing the song, and it was beautiful. I think I have a picture on my phone of a group of them, and I'll post it in your Discord somewhere after we get finished here.
So I'm not going to lie. I bought this. I haven't opened it yet, so I'm doing it live on the show.
Is it a fin?
No, it is 50 Lays.
Hey!
Awesome.
All right.
So there's only 8 of us going together, and I bought 50 of them.
I bought a sticker. I bought a sticker that I haven't put on anything yet.
Nice.
Yeah. Great.
So we were supposed to go last year, but it got postponed because, things.
Now I feel like we should be drinking margaritas.
No, this is a great drink. we're derailing this early. It's a great drink.
There you go. This drink actually isn't that far off of a margarita if you think about what's in it.
It's really not. Yeah, honestly, if you just blended it up and stuck it in with a whole bunch of ice, you could have a frozen margarita.
Yeah,
it kind of is basically a margarita.
Yeah, I mean the whiskey's added in there, which is a little different, but otherwise it's a margarita. Yeah,
like different booze and margaritas. Yeah. Haven't you ever been to like one of those crazy margarita places where they have like all the weird versions of them?
The ones that they drop the whole Corona upside down in, just leave the bottle there.
So good. Like it sounds so gross, but it is so good.
No, I've had it. It's good. Yeah. All right, so I only talked about the books. There's also a TV show. Have you guys heard there's a TV show of The Expanse?
We haven't talked about the show.
So Sci-Fi Network adapted The Expanse for TV,
Yep.
ran for 3 seasons, 2016 through 2018. Basically, technically it started late December 2015, but
Okay.
Sci-Fi, in their failure of wisdom, canceled the show after the 3rd season.
Which
Then there was a
they do
fan
show all the
revolt.
time.
Yeah.
Petitions. I know shows get canceled all the time. They don't always get pulled back by the fans. This one did. So
Yes.
fantastic.
Jericho's another one that got pulled back.
There you go.
Firehawks, let's go.
Well, and honestly, I think Amazon picking it up was one of the best things that happened for the show,
Yes.
because having Christian Avasarala be able to actually say "fuck" all the time is one of the best
And
parts
she
of the
did
show.
then. Yes.
Yes. It's one of so she goes like you said, the first 3 seasons, she's Shakespearean level of
so bad.
anger.
Yeah.
And then she
Wrath,
becomes crotchety Avasarala, and it's
but,
great.
But the fact that she's actually able to say the FUCK word is so brilliant. I can't say the F word without in my head having her encouraging me, going, "Fuck!"
And Shorei is such a good Avasarala.
Yeah,
There's nobody else that
totally.
can play her.
Yep. Now, are you guys on board with
Yes.
Cad Swain?
Yeah. My initial casting for her would have been Lady Bashir. I think she'd be wonderful with whatever role she plays. But my initial Cad Swain was mentally Jamie Lee Curtis.
Ooh, me like you.
Huh.
Yeah,
Really?
that would be wonderful. There's no
I mean, I love her, but wow.
Yeah, but but
I like Shorei as Cad Swain, obviously, but also Cerelia.
Oh, yes. Yes, you do a great job with that too.
Well, and those two are just such a pair.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. They're the same, just different upbringings.
And I love how on Twitter she's on board.
Yes.
She's like, yeah, Rafe, call me.
There was she posted something, and I want to say Rafe kind of put a heart emoji on it just a few hours ago. I've been seeing some stuff come across the feed. Yeah, she posted something about the love and the outpouring of love from the Wheel of Time community, and even Ariel Burgess.
Yes. Oh gosh.
She redid her original Cad Swain portrait with Shorei.
She did that. I saw someone had doctored it. I didn't really. It was Ariel who did it to her own.
She adjusted her original work to have Shorei as Cad Swain and Cad Swain, or as and Shorei shared it, and it's been awesome. So I would love it.
And I saw that last weekend. I've kind of been off of social media because again, life is just busy and.
Yeah.
But I started messaging my friends. I was like, did I miss something? Because I thought it
was it official? Yeah.
Yeah. I was freaking out. I was like,
the fandom will go crazy if that actually happens.
Or they're just fucking with us.
Yeah. Seriously, just announce her already.
And to be honest, as much as I would love it, I'm really okay with them just messing with us.
Yeah,
change my words for
having a good time.
Yeah.
So Amazon takes this over
her for something.
Yes.
And this was not just a good move for The Expanse that Amazon took it over. This was a good move for Amazon.
Yes.
I mean, it bolstered their profile too. And I mean, they were just pulling more and more quality shows they're producing now that, nobody used to talk about Amazon for TV.
No, you buy stuff on Amazon.
That's what they mail me things. What? Yeah. But now it's one of those streaming packages just about everybody is subscribing to.
Yeah.
And The Expanse was part of it.
Before I even knew there were books, I had started watching the show. And one thing that I talk about with my parents, so since this is a father-son show, one thing that I talk about specifically with my dad, he's a big sci-fi fan. He doesn't typically... He's more of a documentary, articles person, but he does have sci-fi books that he loves. Mm-hmm. And that's what he and I connect on a lot, is discussing those. And when I started telling him that, oh, there's this cool new sci-fi show that I started watching. He's like, yeah, there's books. And I was like, oh my God, excuse me.
I didn't know that there were books until it's probably season 4 or 5. I read the books.
I think that's about where,
seasons 5 and 6. So I'd seen the first few seasons of the show multiple times. It's one of my comfort shows. I throw it on the background. The space shots are so good, and just how not necessarily even scientifically accurate, but as close to scientifically accurate as you can get.
It's really.
We'll talk about that. I think they do a pretty good job.
It's really close. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
this is one where I read all the books first because I could, and the show's waiting.
Dick told me to
get to it. I had a choice. I could have gone either way, but I'll always read the books first if I can, because
that's fair.
There's source material. I want to know that first, and then see how they adapt something. And I know that's not how everybody does, but that's how I do. Now, of course, this series, Amazon ran it for 3 more seasons. I thought it was hilarious to, in my research, find they did the 4th season all in one day. It just all dropped on December 12th, 2019. That's when season 4 came out. Just
nice.
And I mean, Netflix does that all the time.
That's the way. That's the way. Yeah. The streaming services used to adapt, and I think that.
But Amazon has shifted since then, and so the last 2 seasons came out with drop the first 3, and then weekly after that. That's kind of their pattern now.
I think Game of Thrones, especially the final 2 seasons of Game of Thrones, how people would have watch parties, and it kind of changed the way streaming services. Because yes, there's so much benefits of just doing a binge all the way through. So essentially, it's an all-day movie, but you lose the hype of what's going to happen next. So a lot of social media.
I think Amazon's found a sweet spot when they'll drop 3.
What's the point of having a cliffhanger if all the episodes are available at the same time?
Exactly. Well, and Disney does that. They drop 3. So Obi-Wan just got or Kenobi. Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah,
Kenobi.
we know it. Yeah,
we gotcha.
Yeah, same thing.
Now, of course, the TV series then ends after the 6th season. The story's not done. Hello. So we'll talk about that. Moving in. But moving through my outline of stuff to talk about, I say we should get to personal experiences with the series. I think we've kind of covered that already. I mean, of how we found it, and TV first, then books
we jumped
first,
our
then
outline.
TV. We kind of did that.
Moved ahead.
I will say, let me jump in real quick.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed being able to watch the show and then read the books with this series, especially because there were some changes that were made, especially in the middle of the series. About 4, 5, 6. But to kind of get a headcanon of what these characters looked like and sounded like. So as I'm reading the words on the page or listen, because I actually read these physical books. I didn't listen to them the first time. So I could have Stephen Straight's voice in my head as Holden, or everybody.
But I thought they did cast it pretty well what
so
matched with
well.
as a reader first. I'm like, these work. They did a really nice job.
The Amos casting, which very different from his description, but I thought that actor did a fantastic job.
He owned the character.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and that's such Amos is. I can't even imagine trying to toe the line that Amos does and make that actor is. We don't know his name. I'm terrible at actors' names,
and I haven't seen him in anything else yet.
Yeah, and he is.
He was in Tenet. He had a small role in Tenet.
I've only watched part of that movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I only really know that because I listened to his podcast with Ty Frank, one of the actors who is James S.A. Corey.
Oh, okay.
All right.
And so he's talked about that. He's been in a few other things that I haven't seen, and his name will come to me at some point, and I'll shout it out.
Okay. There is one other thing I can share personal experience with the series, and that I recommended it to my daughter, my 28-year-old daughter. She likes fantasy fiction, but she leans more towards sci-fi, actually. But a lot of things over the years I've recommended to her, she's like, yeah, Dad. But she actually looked into reading these books and sucked in. And now, having finished them, she's like, Yeah, maybe I need to start listening to a little more of what Dad suggests. I might like. If,
And as a father, I'm sure that's awesome. Okay, yeah, finally start listening to Dad.
yeah. Only took 28 years, but yeah.
Details. When I had this thing, like my baby sister, she's watched a couple of the episodes of the show, and when I went out to visit them in San Diego, because her and her husband are both Wheel of Time newbies, so they had so many questions. Like, we actually started rewatching, but they were like, "What else would you recommend?" I was like, "Oh, let me tell you." Let me tell you about this book series that I'm kind of obsessed with now. And so she and her husband have been reading the books together. I don't think they've watched the show. I think they watched a couple of episodes of the show and decided they wanted to do the books first together, and then watch.
My kind of people like it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. Always book first, because I'm sure we're gonna get into it, but the books, like, there's just so many details, and the show, I think, does a really good job of including all those details, and they do it in such a nuanced way that if you didn't know to look for it, because when I watched, I think, like 4 or 5 seasons or whatever, like 10 seasons of the show, but then started reading the books. I was like, why didn't they ever talk about the juice and all that? It's literally in the first fucking episode. So it's there, but it's nuanced.
You make a brilliant point that is part of the strengths of this series, and I want to touch on it in a circuitous way. My wife and I like a lot of the same TV stuff, okay, and we look for it, and then she's got her guilty pleasure stuff where I'm like, no, I'm gonna go edit, okay, watch that. And then other things where give me a good horror movie, and she's like, no, so we have our separates, but there's a lot of things we can enjoy together. Wheel of Time obviously was coming to the TV, and we'd never been able to get her to read those books. But since she knew this was when I was going to make her sit down and watch, she finally sat down to read the books. And now she's on Crossroads of Twilight and can't stop reading. I mean, she got so sucked in. So victory there. But The Expanse.
Cheers to that. Cheers to that.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. With The Expanse, that was one where she's never going to read those books. But she did sit down to watch with me. And the first 2-3 episodes, I'm like, okay, there's a reason for that. Do you want me to tell you the reason for that? And she's like, no, just let me watch. And after a while, I stopped losing the urge to have to, because the show does do a really good job of just laying the story out there. And she watched all the way through with me. She enjoyed it thoroughly. So that's a strength of both the books. They grip you. There's so much to them, but the adaptation really delivers well too.
It does.
Well, and that's that has a lot to say about the adaptation, because it does tell the story of the first 6 books. I've said this to many people. I could write a thesis on how the true story of The Expanse doesn't start until book 7.
Yes.
I'm not arguing.
I
preach it.
I actually very much agree.
And now, granted, the first 6 are awesome.
They're all set up for the real story, though.
Yeah, you're not going to get any arguments. I mean, I could do devil's advocate if you wanted to, but I don't want to.
No, let's have fun. Let's just agree.
And I didn't say this earlier. It was in my notes, but if anyone's this far in and hasn't figured it out already, this is a full spoiler episode. We will talk about whatever we want from these books. Okay.
When you go to edit, just like put a flash on the screen.
There you go. There you go. Put it up there. So yeah, there's so much that's good to this. It's a crime that the show doesn't go on, but the authors of the books, they still are saying this is just on hiatus.
Firefly, where they might do like a feature length movie to finish it off.
They've got to do something to finish it. And partly because some of the things they laid out in season 5 and 6 was all to prep for the future.
Especially
and that's just why is it there now? It makes no sense.
Right. And a lot of this story is actually something that happens completely off screen 20 years ago. So like with the kids, that was very interesting to see Oh, now I'm totally spacing on their names.
Kara
But-
and Zan.
Yeah.
I just read it. I just read
Yeah,
it.
there you go. There you go.
But yeah, like seeing how they actually get to the state that they're like the symbiotic.
Mhm.
And one of the things I love about the series
prototic molecule
so much is what happens to Amos.
Yeah.
And the ending
Yeah.
with Amos. And nobody's getting any of that from
Nobody
the TV
is.
series.
I don't know if we want to jump ahead to like this is one of the best conclusions of a series.
So good. It
Yes.
makes really so much more, but also it ties a little bow and you could be done. Like they could go on and write another series about after that ending, but also leave it up to us and just have our own headcanons. I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Like similarly,
and the fact that like 10,000 years later or whatever it is, that
and of
Amos
all
is still
the
there.
people that
Similarly
happens
to
to,
Wheel of
Amos
Time.
is the
Amos-
perfect
Amos is
person for
Hoyd.
that to happen to.
Amos is Hoyd.
That's fair.
I get that. Yeah.
Just not as creative. Like he's the quiet part of like Hoyd's multiple personality.
But you know, something I love about the Amos character is he's one who's gonna do what's gotta get done.
Yeah.
And and it's not that he doesn't feel anything. He's just, it doesn't matter. It's gotta get done, it's gotta get done.
Yeah.
You know, there's a real disconnect between
it's a practicality
aspects of his personality there, you know, which is tied from his past. But he's the guy who's going to do it. He'll pay the price. He doesn't care. He's going to do it.
I almost say it's like a good representation of sociopathic tendencies.
Well, but also like I'm going to do a quick trigger warning. I'm going to talk about rape and rape of children.
Skip ahead a few minutes if you don't want to hear that.
Yeah, so quick trigger warning for that one. Yes, so that's what happened to him as a kid. So he was able to, like, in spite of being born to a prostitute, being raised in where children were sold.
Yeah.
For that, like he adapted and overcame as somebody who's been sexually assaulted, like, yes, like he was able to adapt and overcome, and he does have those things, like the protective boundaries in place, and there's a reason he's the way he is. And I think, and it's the books do a really good job. I appreciate books when they address those issues that it happens, but it's not up in front in your face, like, you can read between the lines. You're
not getting the full graphic play-by-play, but you are also getting the aftermath.
Yes. And he, like, in that the I think one of the best ways that the author did it was Holden overhearing a conversation with Amos and Naomi, and like hearing, like, and realizing that he was hearing something he wasn't supposed to listen to, like he wasn't supposed to know. And that carries through several books. He's like, I'm not supposed to know this, but I know. And every time you have a Holden POV that has Amos, like that's all you can feel. It's in the back of his heart. I'm not. So it was people don't write trauma very well, and these authors wrote this wonderfully.
I appreciate something they wrote into Amos's character, that he recognizes he's broken from his past, and he is centered on Holden as his moral focus, his moral center. And when he has time in whichever book it is, 4, 5, where he has that chunk of time where he's away from Holden, and
when
he gets to a point, it is 5, where he's like, I need to get back. This isn't good.
I don't have a North Star. I got to get back to my North Star to show me the direction.
He sees that, and yet he still does. You know,
but then he actually ironically uses Clarissa now as his North Star in that moment. Like, he's doing things for her. Like, he's doing this great caretaking, and like he's not using her as a North Star, but he's balancing off of her. So and then she's got that great line, I'm not a monster. I've done bad things, but I'm not a monster.
See that. So I do want to talk just general strengths of the series, and we're dipping into some of these right now.
I know.
One of them, another of the strengths I'll toss out there is that whole redemption arc for Clarissa Mao, and the role that both Holden plays in that, as well as Amos. I mean, it's huge.
I don't think the show does it as much justice as the books do.
It short-circuited it, made it too simple. And you don't see, but much of it is internal.
So hard.
It's hard to portray that.
I can't imagine. Like they did a decent job, but it's just there's so because it's all internal dialogue for her because you in the books you have her perspective. Why she's doing it, and that is something very difficult to translate to the screen because unless somebody's just sitting there talking and like this is why I'm doing this.
It's the Perrin problem.
Yeah,
how do you portray this stuff?
Did a fantastic job of doing a great job with the scripts, but there's only so much you can do on screen versus on the page. And book Clarissa was written much better than show Clarissa, but I'm not taking anything away from the actor. She did a fantastic.
She is Clarissa. That's what I see now.
When I picture, when I listen to the book now, she is Clarissa in my head.
Now, what's funny is when I read it, that is not how I pictured Clarissa.
Oh, really?
But she so became it on the TV series that's Clarissa now. She did a great job playing that.
The thing for me in the books that really helped sell it was the first few times. I guess it was book.
It's the fourth book, I think.
4? Yeah.
Yeah, it's when they're going to the ring.
They had her perspectives for book 4, and she was known as Melba Coe.
Yes.
And then later on in the series, she was Clarissa.
Yeah.
So in the books, you can most definitely tell that she got her redemption arc. It's a little bit harder to see in the show because she did the thing. She was captured. She was put in jail. Earth got bombed. She escaped from jail, and then she got on the Rossi. In the books, you get her perspective, so you get what she was going through and the mindset of it. So you know for a fact that even in her mind, she made a complete 180.
Yeah. Well, and the books do have a much better perspective on and it's taking ownership of things that you've done wrong in your life, and knowing again, so well written.
Yes.
And there's also a big amazing forgiveness piece, which in people there are people, it's different people in the show and the books who have problems with it. Just the giving grace to people that's you literally tried to murder me, and you murdered entirely.
On the TV show, when Amos comes walking in, thanks, Cap, and walks right past with her. Hey,
and Holden's just like,
huh?
And see, that's better in the books, but it was funny on the TV show.
It's hilarious. Cap, when you said I could do whatever, and then the way he just said, just Cap, hey Cap.
Appreciate you, man, love you, and then come on in, Clarissa, it's all good.
Yeah,
no, Peaches.
Peaches, that's right.
Oh God,
getting ready
for
this.
Nicknames for people, honestly, I love nicknames, and I love Amos's nicknames for everyone. And honestly, I can't think of the actress as anybody besides Chrissy.
Oh,
don't you fucking call me that.
when he tells Bobby. And when he's talking to Bobby about Avasarala and calls her Chrissy, and she says, the old lady doesn't like when you call her that, he says, at least I call her that to her face.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh my God. So good. Can we talk about Bobby for a second? Because she's actually
in love with Bobby on page and on screen separately.
Okay.
Interesting. All right.
All right. That is an interesting request, and we can totally do that.
No, we don't have to talk about it. That's all I have to say about it. I love them both separately for who they are.
I definitely liked book Bobby better than TV Bobby.
I love TV Bobby, but TV Bobby for me gets overshadowed by Karina. So drummer.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Karina Drummer in the show is a culmination of like four
Multiple,
characters.
yeah.
I didn't like her in the show because of what I wanted from the book, and
So
I know they made choices. They had to squeeze some stuff in there. That's the one part of the TV show I don't like the changes they made in the adaptation.
In the show, Karina Drummer is a culmination, literally, of like four people, and that's been the interesting thing. So I rewatched the show, and then I've started re-listening to the books. I'm almost done, but that's the ones like, oh, interesting. Like this is where the nuanced people come in. It's all over the place. So in Karina Drummer, like the Karina Drummer in the show didn't do 90% of the things that happened. So like and again, like you have to make decisions. It's easier to have one character go through. I love her. Like I love her like just deadpan face, and
she's a fantastic actor.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she did a great job. Okay, end of TV series where Holden is now going to be the head of the OPA's thing. I forget the name of them. And I'm like, what? They changed that too? Yeah. Are you kidding me? And then the way they switch it right there in his speech, I'm like, oh, I see what you did.
So my biggest
thing that happens in the books. Like they offered it to him, and he's like,
but he flat turned it down and got it over to not Drummer,
but it's not
the earlier
Drummer
character.
That he turns it.
It wasn't
Drummer that he turns it over.
My biggest problem with
it's
the
a Drummer
show,
like 15 years later.
My big problem with the show was how dirty they did Michio Pa. Because she was an integral part of the resistance. And
they rolled a bunch of her stuff into Drummer.
Was actually the EXO on the
Titan.
And so she was one that did that. She was the first in the book. She was the first president of the Trade Alliance.
Right.
And she was the captain of the ship.
That was just one they decided. Too many characters. We're just cutting that one out. Well, I mean, we're not cutting, but we're changing it. We're going to put it all in Drummer.
And then they brought her back in the show to make her some like side piece character.
Well, she's a medic. She's part of the Drummer's family. She's a medic, and she keeps fucking things up. Like she can't launch things on time. She doesn't know how to.
She pushes the wrong button on the screen.
Like, they're
I watched the final season.
Her off. Essentially, they're just like you're just not functioning well. We love you. You're still part of the family collective.
But you gotta go.
Also, side note, love the way the books and the show deal with non-traditional family styles.
Yes.
So and it's natural. So like as a queer person, I really appreciate this. And like as somebody who's like dabbled in poly stuff, as like the side piece, whatever. That's a conversation for another time. But I love the fact that there's Holden has 8 parents, and they even go into like these interesting details in the books about how his parents got together, and like these 2 guys are a couple, and then these 3 people are a couple, but they all get together and they're like they just make it's
normal,
seamless, very natural. It just happens.
Anytime he has to try to explain who his parents are, though.
Well, they start that.
He has a story to tell.
Episode of the first season, they're like, "So, which one was your mother?" Well, Mother Elisa had the widest hips, so she's the one that birthed me. Like, I am a full spectrum of these 5 fathers and 3 mothers. They were a polyamorous family on a farm in Montana. I'm a full spectrum of all of them, but I was gestated in Mother Elise because she had the widest hips and was better able to hold me.
Did I interpret the science appropriately there? That literally they took genetics from all of them, and okay, that's what I understood.
They didn't all have an orgy. They did this in a test tube. I mean, I'm sure they had an orgy at some point.
there's a whole bunch of I believe buttons that have to, because right now none of us can fathom being able to regrow a limb or
Oh
some
my
of the
goodness,
medical
yeah.
advances. But it's just one of those, like, you press that I believe button, he doesn't, like, he explains it enough that you're like, okay, yeah, I see why that's feasible. Or like, there's technologies today, and if it advances like another 100 years or so, like maybe we could actually do that. Like, yeah. That can totally happen. He definitely skirts that line really well of and again, like, not trying to actually explain how it happened, but just
be like that.
Well, that's it. That's one of the things I consider a strength of this series is it
absolutely.
holds to the science in as far as what might be possible.
I'm so glad they don't have lasers and they actually use bullets.
See, those tungsten bullets, man. Yes, that would make immense sense. And I
love the military.
I love the Epstein drive, the acceleration, deceleration. I mean, that all makes so much sense.
Not gonna lie, I was in the military, and what we shoot out of a CWIS, so close-in weapon system, it's tungsten rounds.
And that's what they use in the books.
See, there you go.
It's just so spot on. So as somebody,
there's so much of science fiction that ignores the force on a human body. This does not in any way. It leans into it. And yes, we've come up with a concoction that can help you survive what you shouldn't be able to. But even that, you might stroke out. You might not make it.
But then Fred Johnson actually does stroke out.
Yeah.
And I was sad to see the adaptation's decision on how to
that was
end him. I think because I loved the
way they did that was because of the actor's misbehavior. So
no. You're talking about
that was for
Alex. Yeah. I'm aware of that. No, I'm talking about Fred Johnson.
What they did with Fred in the books is how they wrote Alex out of the show.
Yeah.
And again, they were.
When that happened on the show, I got on Wikipedia. I said, "Wait a second, there's something going on here." And, okay. Well, that's a bummer.
And I do not approve of any of the behavior that he had, and I'm glad that they were able, at least they were able to correct.
Part of me would have rather they replaced the actor than change the story.
I don't know.
I would have been okay with that.
Replacing that's just such a fine line. I
know it's a judgment call.
And again.
We're changing Matt.
Well,
it happens.
The first season. This was the final season. I'm okay with them writing him out and him dying, saving his family. The character, I am more than okay with the actor being fired.
Oh yeah.
He's a
creepy
come on. With Matt and Wheel of Time, it was the first season. They're able to
kill him off. You gotta
Amazon, show us Donald. He exists. We know Matt exists. So,
Donald, you have to hit this out of the park, man, because
I think he will. But
Matt
also
was so good.
and honestly, I hate that I love Alex. Alex is one of my favorite characters in the show.
Yeah.
He's in the books. I love him in the books so much. But in the show,
keep in mind, off-screen personal behavior does not diminish the character he created and his performance.
Yes.
It doesn't diminish it. It doesn't excuse it either. His off-screen stuff. No, you suck, dude. You can't be like that.
It makes me morally conflicted. So, yes, I still
feel
love
bad
him.
enjoying
I
it.
still love his performance. I love the way he's portrayed the character, and I just hate the fact that in real life he's a shitty asshole.
Yeah.
Which is completely opposite of who he's portraying on the show. Alex in the books and on the show is this very kind, warm, loving person. Alex is.
He's kind of
he really is the glue. He knows.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's like the grandfather, the uncle that's always there for the ship.
Yeah.
Nobody was perfect, and that's a strength of the Expanse. We don't have any perfect characters.
No.
These are well-rounded people.
So, getting to your outline, one of my favorite things about the books, and I think the show kind of does this a little bit dirty, but in the books, they are even from the cant and all the stuff that happens with the Canterbury, they're a family. They're a unit. They are together all the time. There are some things that people start nuanced questioning, but they never really break apart as a family. In the show, and I can understand in the show, like they make it more dramatic, that there's all these arguments and like, and I get why like that's better for ratings, because like just having everybody happy and copacetic is like not good TV. But they always come back, even in the show, they still come back and they're this family unit. Just that cohesiveness and they're in sync. They're on this ship boat.
Well, they don't show us the downtime really in the show. They don't really show it all that much in the books. They kind of talk about it. As far as like the downtime going, the arguments and the butting heads.
It's normal family stuff, but it's all done from a loving place. Yes. So, it's not.
They are a family.
They disagree with each other.
They argue with each other, but you know, you make up.
Yeah, well, I think it's book 3. It's one of my favorite, like especially on this re-listen that I've done. They're in a bar together. They've just made a major haul, so they've got like money, but they only want to be with each other. So they're on, I think they're on Ceres or what, Tycho or whatever, wherever they are. They just only want and they keep prolonging. So Holden orders this like 150-year-old whiskey, and they just keep drinking, and they don't want to leave each other. Yeah, and that just that one scene just speaks so much to the family dynamic of they are people from random parts of the universe, and they have found each other, and they love each other so much. And they're not in that polyamorous relationship like Karina Drummer, or Michio,
supportive family.
Actually, Michio Pao has, but they, and
one of those great family moments is demonstrated when Holden and Naomi finally come out as,
and he gets her cocktail of grapefruit juice.
We're a thing. You know, and got to share this with the crew, and the others are like,
the bet going.
Told you, you know, and they're all like,
I said at the beginning of the show that this week I've listened to the first book and the last book, and it doesn't happen until the second season of the show, but it happens in the first book of the series of Naomi and James.
Which, by the way, is
it's so good, and they did a great job.
The show doesn't really have a lot of sexy scenes, but one of the I watched that.
Pretty fucking hot though.
Yeah, I watched it with.
With the first time they go at it, right there, floating in the.
Yeah. I watched that scene with my
I can't wait. I want to go to space.
And she was like, "This is so gross. Can we fast forward?" And meanwhile, I'm like, "Oh my god, this is
art! Nope, it's art."
We watched this again. It was a very different experience seeing it from a 13, 14, I don't know how old she is. She can't drive yet. But no, it's
listening to it in the books. It happened fairly close to how it happened in the show. I want to say, I think it happened. They were at the table on the ship, and Jim goes, "Naomi, can you please pass me the salt?" And Amos is like, "You guys are fucking."
Yeah. Which is such an Amos,
yes,
very true to character.
Because he might not see everything on the surface, but he sees into it.
No filter, just I'm gonna call
he has a massive BS meter. Yeah, anything you're trying to pull past him, no, he's gonna smell that.
It shows how much of a futuristic family that they are, because he looks over, because Jim is like, I don't want us to change, blah blah blah, and Amos just cuts him off and is like, "Alex, them fucking gonna make you less of a pilot? No, well, them fucking's not gonna make me less of a mechanic, so I don't fucking care." Jim, you got to do 3 times for that sentence.
Yeah. And then it's again, the craftsmanship of the story is so
Yeah,
good.
It's so good.
And keeping true to the characters and dynamic characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're so good. They're so much fun. And I think the actors did such a great
They
job.
really did.
All of them.
Mhm.
Even if their characters got done dirty, like the actor that played Nishio Pa, like even in the show, she was
Oh
very
God,
different in
no!
the
My
book,
heart breaks
but
for her
she was
because she's
so good.
in the show. She's just so
She's so
sad, and
good.
like you
She
can
was-
see, like she just
oh.
wants to stay with her family, and she knows
Yeah.
that.
So when
Oh.
I recently rewatched season 6 this week preparing for this, and I remember whenever season 6 came out last year, there was they were super active on Twitter, and so I was following them along, and hashtag Pollyann Belter fam, and it was so good. They're such fantastic actors. I love
Yep.
them. I really wish
I feel like I should do like the Belter
would've
gesture of
gotten her,
yes. Like,
we've got her
hand,
good.
hand nodding for yes.
Yep.
Yes, the hand
So,
nodding.
A
Yeah.
character I'm going to throw in and comment on is, and I don't retain the names as well as some of you guys have yet, but Bull.
Bull.
Oh,
Okay,
oh, yeah,
okay.
no, Bull-
Now,
Bull-
Well, he's
I
very
love-
fair in the show.
Okay, I love his character in the book,
Yes.
but I love what they did with him in the
I
TV
actually
series
really
because we
would
got
not
more
like-
of him. Yeah, he was
No,
only
I
in the
agree.
one book in the
Yeah.
series, and he goes
Bull-
out as a hero, but he's dead. No, I
Yeah.
wanted more of him,
Well-
so we got more of him.
Well, and that's another of the characters. So Bull in the show is Karina Drummer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
As well as Me Too Pa.
And when they decide not to
Yeah.
blow up Karina Drummer in the elevator, I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, no, the person who's in this in the books dies.
Yeah.
And they totally went on the psych move in the show.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah,
Season
we're gonna get the
5
people who think they know what's happening. Ha ha, no, she
Yeah.
survived.
Season
Yeah.
5 is where they deviated the most. When they were on New Terra Illis, they left out the entire stuff in space above the planet.
Oh yeah,
aside
they
from-
did. Yeah. So yeah, Naomi does not go and get captured, and
Right.
yeah, and that's an interesting arc because there's a couple things in the show where they leave characters hanging. So Miller's partner on series,
Havelock.
and I can't remember his name right
Havelock.
now. Yes, yeah.
See, I got that one. Havelock.
He's Bull
Thank you.
in the
No,
books.
but in the books, he is the security officer,
Right, on the other
in
ship. Yeah.
space,
Yeah.
and he's got this background,
comes
and
through.
so and that's one way Naomi starts communicating. Like they figure this thing out that they
Yeah.
both know Miller.
Yeah.
Which is like, yeah, Holden's not crazy. Like Holden's been seeing your partner.
Like, we're actually friends, yo.
Yeah, and she's able to talk him like and have this calm stasis of like, and Naomi is just like, oh my god, I wish I had her calm and chill and just like the logic and
Yeah.
brilliance that she is probably the smartest person on the show. One thing I also love about this books is that like Clarissa, Naomi,
Yeah, no Silence of
Amos,
the Lambs references
they
here. Come on,
are all
Clarice.
literally rocket scientists.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
like, and just when I was just again re-listening the book. So the book where it's Eric, Amos, and Clarissa trying to fix and she just starts laughing and she's
That's 5.
sure, yeah, whatever, yeah, that works. That sounds good.
Yeah.
They're trying to fix this rocket ship, and she's just like, yeah, all of us are like gangsters and murderers, and we're trying to do this rocket science together, and yeah, that's kind of funny and cool and ironic. And I was literally walking in the middle of the street with it like during work hours, and started just literally burst out laughing at that comment that she said, and people like looked at me. I was like,
See, I'm so glad I'm not the only one who does this. I'm listening to
Yeah, no.
audiobooks as I
There's
exercise in the
actually-
morning, and I'll just burst out laughing in the middle of nowhere, and nobody's around me, you know.
at least I wasn't crying. So like there's been scenes
And
where
there-
I've just been like in public, just like sobbing my brains out.
Oh yeah. I
And
listen
I
a lot at
had
work.
people come up to me like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm
It's okay.
There's a good part in the final book when Holden is talking to Amos, and Amos is talking about some stuff like with the ship and stuff and stuff, and he says something like it's not rocket science, and Holden's like,
Well,
Yeah,
it is rocket
kinda
science.
is.
You are a rocket scientist. Like you are.
But I'm not gonna lie, like I always love these things because one of the programs, like I'm not working on this program anymore, but we actually like launch rockets as a test thing. So like and people have made shirts that say it is actually rocket science. And so so I am not one of those smart people that like I just work on the program, but I love the fact that like rocket science is
I just do the clickety clack, but it might be rocket science eventually.
Yeah.
So another character they did well in the books that actually they carried over to the TV, I thought very faithfully and I enjoyed, was Miller.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, because that would be hard. How do you pull that off? And they pulled it off. They
Thomas
did a good job with Miller.
And I told you a little bit before that I've watched the show with my goddaughter, and she's just like, he's just so creepy.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, he is.
Yes. And I was like, and I just kept laughing because I like, and she's like, "Am I ever gonna like this guy?" I was like, "You will."
I mean, maybe.
But
Sorta.
like you're not gonna find him sexy, but you're gonna empathize with him a little bit more.
I mean, depending on what you
Wait,
find.
she wanted to fast forward through the sex scene, right? So that wasn't even in the.
Oh, she didn't like
consideration.
kissing. She definitely did not like the sex scene.
One thing that I thought was good. Like, I'm not sure if I mentioned it here. I know I talked about it beforehand. Leading up to this, I re-listened to the first book and the last book.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, you only mentioned it once or twice.
Yeah, fair, whatever.
Only once.
With the first book with Miller, his infatuation with Julie, they kind of
creepy
with the show, but they really get into it in the books, and it's hard not to fall in love with Julie.
Yeah. And I think one thing that they try to introduce in the show is like, and I just rewatched the last episode of the first season, and that's the first time he starts having visions of Julie.
Mm-hmm.
But in the books, he's always communicating mentally with his ex-wife, so like he's always got the resounding, and then it gets turned over, and it's not even like he really does fall in love with Julie.
What they did a nice job in the books, and they played it through on the TV series as well, is basically this guy's world has fallen apart. He's got nothing. This is the one thing he can maybe do right. He can see through, and he gets so far into it that he just, now she's his everything. Well, that's all there is left to him, and that becomes love.
And it becomes the perfect launching point for the proto-molecule to go back. Like, and it's like the fact that he is there. Like,
they did that so nice on the TV show. They really did.
I will say, sorry, go ahead, Leigh. I've got a minute.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, so in the show, Octavia Muss is his previous partner. And in the books, it's his partner after Havelock. And he's kind of talking with her, and this is after he's been reassigned from the Julie Mao case. It's a little bit later on. And he's like, why would they assign me this case? And she's like, well, they would assign it to somebody that they know would fuck it up. And he's like, oh, so I'm the village idiot in this. Yeah. And that's kind of sets him on his downward spiral. Yeah. But also, that hits his brain as far as like coming up too.
Actually, it's an upwards. It's an upward spiral.
Yes. So and the thing is,
they thought I was going to fuck this up, but
we get the understanding he used to be that guy. He used to be the top dog, and then his marriage fell apart, and everything went to crap.
Yeah.
And
this is the trigger that gets him to tap back into.
And he actually kind of fell a little bit into the mob mentality. Like, I'm just going to space you, like, and I don't fucking care. And just allowing sloppy police work.
Yeah. Which that was kind of like the Miller from the beginning of the show.
Yeah. Again,
there's no cops on series. There's no laws on series, only cops.
And the actor was so good, like portraying that.
Thomas Jane is so good.
Being confident, but also being a fuck up.
Yeah. And I know I've mentioned their podcast once. I will say the actual name, Ty and That Guy, which is Ty Frank, one of the authors, and I remembered it, Wes Chatham. There you go. Is the actor who plays Amos. They do a podcast together and they go through the episodes of the show. I've listened
to
a few.
I have the short stories and this podcast.
Because I don't have nearly enough podcast content to try to keep current.
And also just so you're aware, Jim, and you too, Ty Frank, when you publish this, I'm going to share it on Twitter and I'm going to tag them.
Nice. Love it. All right.
And I will retweet. So.
Cheers.
All right. We've been talking Expanse stuff for a good hour now because we had our introductory stuff and we already jumped into Expanse. It's still been a good hour.
I think we just need to acknowledge it's going to be an extra long episode.
That's fine.
I'm moving into
delicious smelling dinner is going to have to wait.
Yes.
I'm just making sure.
Sorry, Jim's
it's
wife.
Not burning. That's all.
We're taking him hostage.
You mentioned, Leigh-a, a while ago, get back on the outline, and I started laughing because we're like, whatever. We are all over the place.
The outline
great.
Over here?
It's fantastic. But I am going to reference now and jump to a couple of things here. Mind-blowing moments from the series in whichever format, TV, show, whatever. What were times where you were like, I'll give you one.
I know
finally freaking dropped the rocks on Earth. They've been making comments about it.
They teased
for
that
books and books, and then they did it. And I'm like, holy crap, they did it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the books obviously get way more into the details, but they do a good job on the show.
They do.
And Chrissy, our favorite actress, going out there, look like in her beautiful fur coat, looking over fields that should have been producing, but it's now covered in snow. Yes, that's just. All right, I thought the cat was going to get angry. But honestly, can you imagine? We literally have movies about rocks being dropped on Earth.
Deep Impact. That's one of my Armageddon. Yes.
Yeah, that is kind of one of our fears. And there literally actually recently was a test done of launching space lasers to blow up rocks. And it was and they I'm sure it was, but it was, they did an open source public release about we can shoot down rocks now. So that is an actual thing that we have problems with, that we're concerned about.
Right. So this isn't necessarily a mind-blowing thing, but I literally have this on a Post-it that I put on my corkboard in front of my desk.
Okay, no, hold it up again. Come give me the full screen. What's the Post-it say?
No. I'll read it. You can. I have.
We want to see it. Put it up.
It says,
"There it is.
If life transcends death, then I will seek for you there. If not, then there too."
Yeah, that's what's on her tomb.
Yes, I want to say it's book 6 or 7. It's on her gravestone on Laconia, who she fucking hated.
Oh man, that was a slap in the face. That's right.
And it's such a beautiful quote that I legit want that on my gravestone if I'm actually buried. I would much rather prefer to be cremated or do one of the pods that grow a tree in a park or something like that. But I would want that to be on a plaque for myself later on when I do eventually pass, because it's so beautiful. Because I'm not necessarily religious. I grew up religious. I'm not anymore. But if life transcends death, then I'll meet you there. If not, then there too. It's fucking beautiful.
Yeah. But like there's so much to think about with that quote. Like what
Yes.
does and in the book, Holden is talking to her granddaughter.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
and like they even like discuss that. Like and both of them are perplexed by that quote.
And they're both also in agreement of I can't believe this is here.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Because that's after Holden was taken hostage.
Yeah. And he'd been there for like
months
6 or 7 years.
He's been there for like months or a year or
so. Was it years
years
already?
Several years at that point.
Okay.
I now I will say this is jumping ahead in our notes, but that is one of my criticisms of there are different time jumps of different years, and they do talk about it and mention how much time has passed, but it is a jarring punch in the face of the time
in the books.
Yes,
but
because
I
even
think,
after
I think,
in-between
I
books
think that
in the
says more
first-
about our culture where we're used to watching shows. And
Yes.
like in the show, like they don't that's one of my criticisms of the show is they don't really do a good job of acknowledging how long it takes to do things. So and that's one of my
every show's issue with that.
Yeah, well, and one of my positives of the book is like the authors are very like it takes this amount of time, and it, like the scientificity. I've just made up that word.
That's a good word.
Yep. Of
Scientology.
Like, how long space travel happens, and they discuss like the planets in orbit and how much like
it won't always be the same distance.
Yeah, and it's not always consistent, but then also the concept that time is still based, and this is something that we experience today is we do time and locality based off of the British Empire. So when you go to places like Mars or the Belt or like some of these other like Gamamine or whatever, like it's still based off of the 24-hour day in Earth, even though that's not at all applicable to some of these and especially some of the later books. They get into the
I mean, even on the stations, they do 8-hour shifts where they're doing an 8-hour work day, they have an 8-hour fun day, then they have an 8-hour sleep day, and that's just an 8-hour shift. That's a 24-hour shift.
Yeah, and it has nothing to do with the actual orbital. Like again, it's a big rock, so it's not spinning like this, like Earth is.
And they talk about that a lot more in the later books after the rings open, because then they're like, oh well, this planet has 1.2. I want to say it's in the final book because it's Alex's son.
There's several times. So like when they're on New Terrace they were talking about like how the days. I think in New Terrace. Can't remember the actual number.
Another one of the real science moments.
It's a 32-hour day.
Another real science moment that jumped in from the books where I went, how come I never thought of that before? Was the elliptical plane. That all the planets kind of rotate on the same, and then they throw the rocks up and down, and why didn't I think of that before? I don't know, but I had to look it up and went, it's legit. That's real.
They continue to use that rocks as a tactic. So when
and they did it in the show where the rocks came flying out by the gate from outside the elliptical plane and took a whole bunch out.
Like in Tiamat's Wrath in the book, when Naomi is basically has her fleet of 400 ships, they're launching rocks, like they're just like launching stealth rocks to I love that they like bring it all back again.
I love that they talk about that. I want to say in like the second or third episode of the show when Avasarala's on the roof of her home with her grandson, and they're talking about they could drop a rock on us at any point. And then,
it's her husband. It's her husband.
It's her husband. Then a few years later, it's like 30 rocks being dropped on them, and it's. The show and the books are beautiful, each in their own right. They each tell the story differently, but it's the same story from different perspectives.
Yeah, totally.
Yes, it's different mediums, because in the show they can show not tell, and in the books they tell not show, because it's words on page.
But something that comes through really strong in this particular adaptation, because I have no issue calling out adaptations that are crap.
Yeah.
Shannara. Okay, just put that out there. Okay. But this was a really true to source adaptation. Not that it was page by page trying to say everything the same way, but it was so true to source, and I loved it.
Yeah, well, and they've got such great details within the show. Like the show is worth rewatching. The books are worth rereading. So it's very much Wheel-a-Timey, where you could just
fucked up and watch the first season just to queeze my stomach up and watch how great the space stuff is, because I didn't have I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I've been a Star Wars fan since I was a kid. I have not problems, not even trouble, quandaries watching Star Wars stuff now.
Yeah, they ignore the reality of space. Come on.
You have to press an I believe button, so there's this
very much.
And it's this big. It's a huge I believe button.
My belief, and this is my brain, and this is how things work, and so that's how it is in the Expanse world. This is how it is in the Star Wars world. This is how it is in the Star Trek world. And if you have the brain capacity to get past, not even get past that, but to get okay with it, man, this series is so fucking good.
You actually really don't have to
It's a small button in the Expanse.
You don't have to go very far. And one thing that I love about I'm just gonna say the books, and then the show follows through. Is that yes, it is sci-fi, but there are very limited. There's a couple of books where it's not really about and Jake, to your point earlier, the series doesn't really start until the 6th book.
Yeah. It's so much more science than fiction.
And not even science. So there's all the interesting political factions.
It's such a good
and each book has its little own nuance that the book where they're on Illis, New Terra, that's a lot about. So there is an interesting sci-fi portion to that. That is not the main story. It's the pioneering concept. It's the colonization. That's
Wild West.
Yes, it is a real story. Told in a different way of the colonization of the Americas. If we're being real about it,
it's true.
We're gonna be here, and then the real shit that's there is okay, we're gonna fucking kill you. This is our spot.
Yeah. There's one science thing they made up for this that I appreciate they held to consistently through the books and through the show. And it had to be annoying as heck on the show. The magnetic boots.
Yes.
Click, click, click. All the way through the show, they kept doing it. They had to be going nuts trying to put this all in all the time. It was
really good in the show, but not perfect. But just by a small margin.
And you can understand, your mind can grasp, okay, there's no gravity. This is how you kind of connect. It wouldn't work nearly as well as they make it.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie. I just rewatched Firefly. Wow.
Firefly.
Let me have another drink. Let me have another sip, and I'm going to try this again. So 1 second. I rewatched Firefly recently, and with how well the authors did, and even in the show again, the books and talking, they're always talking about how things are rotating, how fast are you going to force gravity, And I'm watching Firefly, and I'm like, yeah, that shit literally doesn't fly. So, I believe it was such a snarky thing in my head. So it was one of my favorite series. Like,
yeah, I had the same thought after reading and watching The Expanse. Star Wars is one of my favorites. Like,
or
love
Star
it.
Trek.
I have Star Wars tattoos.
See, you're all in, man. There it is.
Nice.
So after reading and watching the Expanse books and show, and then watching some Star Wars stuff, I'm like, that shit is not believable. But like I said, you've got to suspend your belief and be like, all right, this is the world I'm in.
Yeah.
And so that's fine. The Expanse is like, okay, this is real world shit, regardless of anything, period.
So can I tell you guys the books that I compare The Expanse to?
Yes.
The Martian.
The Martian. Yeah. Have not read that one.
That's great. The science is solid with the Martian. Andy Weir.
Yeah.
It's good.
Well, and yeah, no, it's very accurate.
And the book's better than the movie.
I'm literally looking at it in my bookshelf right now. And one of my favorite things, like you guys know, I love space pirates. But and I actually, as I was reading the book, this is back when I read books. Not just listen to them. There's this chapter about like international law, and and so the main character concludes like, so therefore I am a space pirate. And I literally I was on an airplane, started laughing out loud. It took a screenshot, like took a picture and like sent it to my dad, like, you have to read this book because they talk about space pirates. Yep. There's an entire chapter dedicated to space pirates.
All right, so you like The Martian. Have you read Project Hail Mary yet?
Ooh, I have not.
It's his next book. If you like The Martian, you're going to love Project Hail Mary. It's really good.
Okay.
Really good.
Maybe, you know what? Actually, we discussed books that we're going to be reading soon. Like, I'm going to put that as the top of my list.
All right. I am going to jump to just some final questions. Things that, what do we think? And my first one, of course, was what happens to Philip? And I don't want to know now since you already know, Jake, and I'm going to read it for myself later.
I will not tell you what happens to Philip.
Can I really quickly do a callback because I didn't get to say my favorite scene?
Oh, yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I'm really passionate about this one is Bobby delivering the antimatter nuke and then literally just shooting things up, and like that's her final scene. And just how, and like it was several books leading up to it, like her talking about her father and how her father just deteriorated, and how she would want to go out and reminiscing about. And
there you go.
Yeah, so like the way that she passed, and then like, and I cry every time I hear this, but when they start calling in oh god, wherever the Houstons are from, whatever that word is, where their base is. Yeah, thank you, that one. Draper Station. It's like
no, so, they played Bobby right.
Bobby, like I said earlier, I love Bobby. Bobby from the show can break my neck with her thighs as long as I go out, as long as how I want to go out with Bobby.
Yeah, you know, I'd totally be fine with that if I was between her thighs.
But that's show Bobby. With book Bobby, same.
Yeah.
No.
Of all, like, and I love Amos on the show and the book. I love Alex in the book and the show, but like Bobby,
we haven't really talked about like how things go after book 6, season 6 of the show books. And just for those,
sorry, Jim, we're not ending this podcast anytime soon.
No. So with the show and the series, Bobby leaves and lives at the end of book 6 and season 6.
Yeah.
Bobby is a huge part of the resistance of Laconia, which isn't a huge part because they teased Laconia at the first few minutes of season 6 for the show. Laconia is a huge part of the final few books.
The last two,
Totally.
like, and it's the reason that Inaros does his thing. Like,
and they do talk about it in the show of Laconia abandoning Marco, and
because they used him to manipulate things to get their stuff to Laconia, so they don't need him anymore, and because we will not be sending more stuff.
I can't even think of his first name, but Duarte, the leader, is a genius and does a great job. It's
but that takes me to a question I had. Is he, when you say he's a genius, okay, he's very smart.
Yes.
He thought some things through. Yes. But in the grand scheme of the story, is he truly a hero, like he thinks he's being for the human race, or is he just a narcissist that he believes he's the only answer?
He's basically Hitler. So he thinks
that's not a bad parallel.
I will say
it's tangential. But he thinks he's doing the right thing for his people. He thinks that
for all people. He really believes that.
Well, mostly for his people, but then he also thinks he can do this thing for all people. And he even talks especially in the books, it's one of the reasons that he starts injecting himself with a proto-molecule is he acknowledges that a society cannot exist with multiple leaders and having visions change. So having consistency. So in his mind, he thinks that what he's doing is correct. And
it's a sacrifice he's making for the good of humanity. That he'll be that one
attempt to bring his daughter into it, knowing that maybe at some point he might die, and so he's attempting to bring groom his daughter for this, but and a lot again there's a lot of parallelisms with
I believe he believes
Germany and
and
the way that they we are all abiding, the entire society is abiding by this military law, and we all exist within this military law. And
but I don't think Duarte thought he was infallible or perfect. I think he figured, though, he has a vision, he has a plan, and someone's got to have a plan. This one can work, so I'm going to see it through. I don't see anybody else stepping up to do it. I'm gonna do it. It might not be the perfect, but I'm gonna see it through.
Well, and he actually does think it's perfect. And again, this has a lot of parallels with Hitler. I think this is what the world needs. This is what everyone needs, and all of the other societies that we're going to start ruling over need to come up, and we'll figure it out. And one thing I loved in the books was our Chrissy read all 84 theses on him, and she had a really good understanding of who he was, and was able to give actual drummer book drummer some advice on how to start prosecuting a war against him, but they just didn't realize the technological advantage that Durante and his whole culture had because of the proto-molecule, which is when the books started having an actual sci-fi component. There was always throughout so many things book 3, when Bobby and her team gets attacked, there's a big sci-fi thing. So the whole Miller thing, but the books, I very much agree with Jake, is the books really don't start until 6 and 7.
Yeah. Now, there would be some that could say that Holden actually has some comparison with Duarte, in that this belief that I know what's right. I'm the only one who can do this. I'm the only one who's seen what has to happen and is willing to do it and pay the price. So is Holden just as bad as Duarte, but it happened to work out in the end for Holden, or not? What do you think?
Yeah, well, the winners write history.
Yeah. I mean, what if it could have worked out Duarte's plan, except it couldn't because he didn't understand the other entity. He didn't get that.
Yeah. Well, and that is the one pivot point. So like that's the only thing that makes Holden better because he had more experience with the protomolecule and he understood more of it. Duarte,
we owe everything to Miller. How weird is that?
Yeah, all this goes back.
It's all saved because of Miller.
Yeah, and well, and like again, I just re-listened to Tiamat's Wrath, and that's where Evie, Ellie, whatever her name is, the scientist.
Elfie.
Yeah, Elfie,
yes.
Something like that.
Continue. Yes. I loved Elfie's story.
Yeah, and she thinks that Holden is trying to kill Duante's daughter, and so she like charges out with her like she's crippled. Her husband's like crippled because they've got these like massive wounds. Yeah. She's like charging out in the snow and like trying to beg Holden. Meanwhile, Teresa has broken Holden out of jail. Like it's all Teresa. Yeah. And she's like, but Elfie's like, please don't kill her. And he's like, I don't know why you thought that, but like, I only did this because I want you to be the scientist in charge.
Meantime, her friend in the mountain has a nuke, but you know.
Yeah,
her friend in the mountain who has a nuke is also Amos Bruce.
Yeah, that was great.
And now he's immortal. So, you know.
Love it.
That's just how things work. But yeah, and Holden's like, I don't know why you're yelling at me, but she's the one that broke me out of jail. Like, and I was trying to make you in charge of science things, so stop yelling at me.
Right. I do hope they do eventually finish this series.
Oh gosh,
I don't know who, I don't know when. Maybe there's a gap of 20 years and they bring the same actors back.
Yeah, I would love to see a trilogy of films of the final 3 books. Like let each of the last 3 books be a trilogy of films.
Wow.
Let each of the last
it's not even film like in a trilogy. I don't know why they discontinue it because it's not like the Expanse did not have a popular following.
It wasn't tanking in the
like
I have a theory they wanted to allocate their money to other things. And that was all it was.
Wheel of Time, Lord of the Rings.
That
makes a lot of sense.
Kind of fuck Lord of the Rings.
I'm hoping it's better than that. But I don't want.
I'm not gonna lie. I will obsessively watch that and reread the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy and The Hobbit and the Silmarillion. Again, words hard. But
good drink, grapefruit juice, man. It'll mess you up.
Put money in Wheel of Time. Put money in the Expanse. Like, I feel like the Expanse.
I think they did though. I think they did a great job.
Oh, they did, and then they stopped.
Yeah, they just stopped. They just stopped. I don't understand.
It didn't go downhill. They were doing quality all the way to the end, and then they stopped doing it. But
and they kept it open.
And that is, in my opinion, the reason why. Is if it's done now, then it's done. If there's enough business to let us continue this on for a movie or 3 movies or
like I said, Firefly style.
Then we'll do it. We'll put the money into it. But let's see.
Yep. All right. This has been fun. This has been great. Thank you so much for coming and yakking about all of this. And we could go on for another 2 to 3 hours. We seriously could, but we gotta draw a line somewhere.
If we want to do a part 2 in a few months, just give me a week in advance and I'll read some more books.
Woo! All right.
Read let's actually do that, and we can talk about the short stories.
See, especially that last one. Yes. Okay. I want to remind everybody who's been listening and watching, come find Fantasy for the Ages. We've got a Discord. We love to interact with people there. We're on Twitter about all sorts of whatever, and come interact with us. That's part of the fun. That's why we do this too. We don't just like to talk at you, we want to talk with you. So find us. There's ways to find us in the show notes there. And if they've enjoyed spending time with the two of you here today, tell us how they might interact with you some more. I mean, Leigh-a, you've got something after your name on the screen. Maybe you want to tell them about that.
I part of a cast. We have this show, as you can see the name, called Threefold Talks. It's an IEL, so Wheel of Time. For those of you who read Wheel of Time, it's a bunch of IEL and our token Wetlander, Rob from Malkier Talks. And it's kind of a variety show. So we every week we do talk about the Wheel of Time news that has been released that week. And then we just do random chaos afterwards.
So if they want to catch you live, you're usually what time, what day?
It's Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern time.
Perfect.
Eastern
I've
USA.
never caught one live, but I've watched a bunch of the recordings. They are great.
They're great.
So, yeah.
And
Look
also-
around.
and we drink a lot of
It's live.
Oosquai.
It's a lot of
A
fun.
lot of Oosquai.
There may be a little bit of Oosquai involved. Yeah, this week we talked about bridal wreath flowers with our guest Bree, who is a romance writer, and that got
Nice.
really interesting really fast.
Yeah. And Jake, where can they
I-
interact with you?
I am not a content creator by any means. I have a lot of friends who are, so every now and then I do help out the Will Reads for their Wad of Fortune once a month, usually towards the end of the month.
Which we were on, and
You guys were on last. You guys were on.
and we all wanted to stab Jake because he made all the answers.
I'm not the kindest when it comes to prompts for the Wheel of Time, Wheel of Fortune game show.
It was very stab worthy.
All right, waiting for our invite now, Jake. Waiting for our invite.
I trust me. I've got plenty of people. We do it once a month, and we can have 3 or 4 people. So trust me.
Oh,
you're on
can
my
I
list.
volunteer to be the third for Jim and Zach?
Yeah, you missed it the other night, right?
Yeah.
No, who missed it the other night? You did.
I
Right?
was on the
No,
show
Chili
last
missed it
time.
the
I
other
was
night.
on
You
it
were
last
there.
time.
Yeah,
What are
you were there.
talking
Sorry.
about?
I drank
was
a lot.
on it.
Also, I do claim IEL. I do claim the shield and
There it
spears.
is. Look at that.
But whereas Leigh-a is a farther as my, I am a stoned dog.
I'm
There you go.
I am the roof mistress, by the way. So
Absolutely. And if you do come and check us out on Discord, that's one of the places you'll find Jake. It's there, Jake Stoned Dog. He's there. Okay. And good people. A lot of fun. Again,
and,
thanks for being with us
I
today.
want to say, I think it's at roaming_IEL is my Twitter. I don't really post that much except for like giveaways for books and shit on Twitter. But
which
It's
I got
cool.
one
That's
from
cool.
Wheel Reads.
Whoa, you won one of theirs.
nice.
Nice.
I won a mug from them not too long ago.
Nice.
So-
Yeah, I got one of the thermals.
Nice.
We tried to do a giveaway once, and the person who won it said, I don't really need a mug, but thanks for the shout out. Okay.
I'm a lucky motherfucker when it comes to winning stuff on Twitter giveaways.
Yeah,
Hey.
I will always sign up. I will always and actually especially with the Wheel Reads, I feel guilty because even though I won one, I always go. I'm like, I want another one.
Also, I will say this. Sorry, Jim, we have not talked about this. Green Ronin Publishing puts out an Expanse tabletop RPG book.
Yes.
And they have a great fun game. I do run a game with some close friends of mine. Leigh-a is one of my players, and I am more than happy to run a game. If I can get 3, 4, 5 other people that would want to play, I'd be more than happy to run a game with them. Just reach out to me on Discord. Jim can put you in touch with me, or on Twitter. roaming.
Jake is a great DM. I highly recommend you guys do this.
Nice.
Oh, thank you, Leigh-a.
Yeah,
we have a good time with our current crew, but I have such a great time with it. I have a lot of stuff already planned and some stuff that my current group hasn't had a chance to be able to hit yet. So I'm more than happy.
I'm so excited.
Sounds fun. I might need to get in on that sometime. That does sound fun.
I'd love to have you, Jim.
Jim, come join us.
Awesome.
Like we drink the usquai. We talk about cheese.
What can go wrong?
But yeah, no. Like I said, I have a one game that I play once a month with, and I would be more than happy, and I would love to have another group that would like to play. So if anybody else wants to, by all means, reach out, and if I can get a few people that would love to play, I'd love to run that game as well. So
there you go.
Jim,
find Jake on Twitter. Find him on our Discord. Come visit. He's right there all the time.
Discord.
All right. Well, now the only thing I have to do, and this is perfect timing because the garage door just started opening. My wife's home, and she's going to want dinner. So I'm going to run our outro, which is going to be like right next to us. And here's all the stuff we're talking about, how you can get a hold of us, how you can subscribe and like us. Find us wherever you interact on social media, unless it's like modern stuff, like Snapchat, Twitch. I don't know those things, but Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Discord. Discord's not scary. Come find us.
No, Discord's awesome. They have a great Discord channel.
Yeah.
It's great for first timers. It's great for other series of books. It's a lot of fun.
We have an email address. Look at that. Nobody uses it.
Oh, look at that
We
email.
do have one.
I'm just gonna start sending you emails, Jim, just because.
Yeah, I might actually email you tonight and tell you how much I love being on